Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, Horrorboy465. Welcome back to some more reviews. And today we're getting into a film that not only am I excited to review for the sake of this franchise review, just in general excited to talk about it. And that is the one, the only, the very hated, the very despised, the very underrated Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. This is my second favorite of the franchise, next to Part 2, which is my favorite. And I know people out there are probably what? Are you crazy? Are you loco? And I'll get to my reasons in a little bit, but real quick to show you guys the front artwork and the back artwork. And a lot of this DVD has a lot of Part 6 artwork, which I love Part 6, but I did notice that majority of this DVD has a lot of Part 6 artwork, and at least they gave the disc art to Part 5. We have a picture of Roy, which is pretty cool. So at least they gave it that. But Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning is a film from 1985. Gets a 4.8 on IMDb. Directed by Danny Steinman. Unfortunately, was passed away. Did a really good job directing this movie. Rest in peace, Danny Steinman. This movie is very well directed by Danny Steinman. He did a good job, so rest in peace, Danny Steinman. And the DVD I'll probably be using in this review is the one, in my opinion, with the best cover out of all these artwork, honestly. And if I can't, I might use this poster in the thumbnail, I'm not sure. Or I'll use the second best one, I guess, because I'll get to the posters in a little bit and my thoughts on that. But I'll be using this DVD a lot in this review, just because I really enjoy the artwork. Definitely my favorite designed deluxe edition DVD. It honestly has the best cover, and even just for this movie in general, this is the best cover I've seen for Part 5. But Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, takes place, I think, years later. It's when Tommy's a teenager. It takes place right after Part 4, and Tom, like I said, has grown up to become a teenager. Tommy has. And he's been sent to this place called Pinewood, which is pretty much a halfway house for these troubled teens. People who are going through mental issues and stuff like that. And when Tommy is sent there, unfortunately, one day a kid named Joey, or a teenager named Joey, is murdered, gets chopped to pieces by a psychopath with an axe, and pretty much there's a spoiler alert from here on, because I just shot a video before this. Actually, I had to stop my previous review for this film because I forgot to say spoiler alert. And also because the previous version of this review was pretty bad. But spoiler alert, I will be spoiling the major big spoiler of this film, because Jason is not the killer of this movie. So I will be spoiling that. If you don't want to get that spoiled, then I would not recommend going on. But the reason I'm not really onto it is because this is a pretty old film. If you've watched my reviews up to this point, you probably already know the twist. So, but for just those who haven't, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. But you find out that there's this paramedic named Roy, who is the father to Joey, and he finds his son all chopped to pieces, and it traumatizes him, and he goes on a killing spree, and he finds about Jason Voorhees' past murders, pretty much does a copycat, gets his own hockey mask, which is pretty cool, and goes on a freaking killing spree. That's pretty much the main plot of the film. And Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, it's just such an underrated film in my opinion. This movie gets so much hate. I remember, I think I posted on something, it was like, what was your favorite Friday the 13th film? I said Part 5, and a lot of people were shocked by that, which it's fine, it's their opinion. I'm not like offended or anything like that. But a lot of people were shocked about that, and a lot of people, even when I did this review back in the past on YouTube, a lot of people were very shocked this was my favorite, and for a long time, this was my favorite. For the longest time, I just really loved Part 5, and I still do. Part 2, in my opinion, I think it's a little bit better because it's my favorite movie. That's one that I always like to watch as well. I've done a review of Part 2 and said why it's my favorite. If you guys want to go check it out. If you guys haven't, I've done a Part 2 review. But mainly it's because I guess in this movie you do have a few problems. Part two, in my opinion, you didn't really have any problems. But for here, there are a few problems that even as a fan of this movie I can't ignore, which I'll get to in a second. But I think that's why I stepped it down from being my favorite. But it's my second favorite of the franchise. This movie, in my opinion, is just a heck of a fun time to watch. And yes, it's not serious. It's not scary. Um, it's more of like a, I don't know if I want to say even black comedy. I don't even know if I want to say that. It's a very campy film. I can say that's a very campy slasher film. And it's really the most different movie of the franchise. This is a movie that when you get to it, you've got through part one, and then part two, and then part three, and you got part four being that great movie. And it's like you get to part five, and it's a very different film. It takes you off guard. Um, and I just really do respect how much of a different film this is. And I like the twist, personally. I like the idea that there's this copycat killer. The idea that Roy is the killer, I like that idea. The look of the killer in this movie is really awesome. The blue chevrons on the mask. The mask itself looks very, very awesome. He also has like a jumpsuit on. And the way the machete looks in this movie, it's like, I don't know if they even have it on this DVD. They really don't. But it's like a curved machete. It's like it looks normal up to like the tip of the machete. It curves, so it's a very like unique look for the machete. There's actually a poster you can probably find of Tommy holding the machete, and it looks like that. I don't know, just a certain way that machetes can look. So I like that. How in the movie the machete has sort of its own look, and this movie's got a lot going for it, in my opinion. I mean, it's got, in my opinion, decent acting. Not the greatest, but for being a slasher film, it's decent. For me, I think it's a little bit better than part three. And I love part three, but I could say that the acting in this movie is a little bit better than part three's. For me, the characters, I can remember a lot of the characters from this movie. There's a lot, if you're into nudity, if you go to the slasher films for nudity and gore, this movie delivers it in a amazing way. If you want nudity, it's all throughout the film. So that part is covered. If you want gore and blood, that's all in the film. And actually, for the longest time, I guess, I didn't even know the MPAA cut stuff out of this film. Because I guess, yeah, the directors and stuff like that, they mentioned that MPAA got a hold of it and cut some stuff down. But honestly, it's still a very gory film. It's still a very bloody slasher film with a freaking giant body count and so many different kills. I mean, the imagination that went into these kills in this movie. Sometimes, and I'll get to a story later on, but sometimes a little too much imagination. But the imagination that went into these kills really created a really awesome kill count. And I don't know, I mean, a lot of people's big problem with it is that Jason isn't in it, but you're pretty much getting the same film. Yeah, Jason, I guess, isn't really the killer, but it's still a very well filmed, very well atmospheric, very well done atmosphere. It doesn't really make sense. Very well done atmospheric. Doesn't make sense. But a very well done atmosphere, very well done direction, decent acting, memorable characters, improving characters and, sort of giving them new stuff, like Tommy having the karate. I love that idea. The kills, the body count, if you're into nudity, it's in this film. It's all over the place, so you're going to love that. New ideas, new approaches to this film. It's a very different approach for a Friday the 13th film. And it's just, I think it's just a very different film. In a good way, it's a very different film. And it's a very unique film because in the franchise, like I said, this is probably the most different film in the franchise. And for some, that's a bad thing. For some, it's a good thing. For me, I love it for that. I love this movie because it's an underdog film. It's a movie that has fans. This movie does have fans, actually, which is really nice to know because for a while there, I was feeling pretty alone about loving this film. But apparently there's even, I think, a commentary on this. And they have a guy who's a big fan of Part 5 and the featurettes and the commentary. So that's nice to know that there's other people who love Part 5 as much as I do, because Part 5 is so fun. Part 5 is such an entertaining time. It's got things in it that no other film has in the franchise that makes me love it. Like the campy humor or the just very well done, very well filmed atmosphere. Um, the third act is freaking amazing, where it just kicks off on a roller coaster ride, and it's Jason chasing Pam and Reggie the Reckless, and Tommy gets into the mix, and they're all getting chased, and Reggie gets the freaking tractor and hits imposter Jason or Roy, hits him and he flies back. I love that. I love how the ending plays out, where Tommy gets slashed, but he gets a knife and stabs Roy in the leg. And where Tommy gets the last laugh because he freaking takes a machete and like chops Roy, and you see blood just squirting everywhere, and Roy falls into a bed of spikes. And just the third act in general was just freaking amazing. Freaking fun, amazing. You got Pam getting a chainsaw out, cutting Roy's arm with a chainsaw, hitting Roy with this like freaking axe handle, just freaking hitting him. Reggie fighting, like they're all fighting. Reggie's fighting, Pam's fighting, Tommy's fighting. They're all fighting, and that gets the killer. And I just love the third act. Yeah, Pam, I guess, did do a lot of screaming, and there's a few times, I'll be honest, where, and I really love the Pam character. I just think she's a good actress, but, and a good character as well. But I can, at times, I don't know, her acting kind of got where it's like, maybe that line could have been delivered a little bit better, just certain points in the film, but overall, I thought she's did a very well done job as far as acting goes, and she's a very strong, capable lead. Tommy did a really good job in the film. The guy, Jonathan Shepard, did a very well done job as Tommy. Kind of quiet in this movie, but at the same time, you can tell he's dealing with stuff, and they kind of set it up to be Tommy as the killer, and I guess that was the original intention for Tommy to be the killer, but they wanted to just pretty much throw a twist into the mix, and it ended up being a crazed paramedic named Roy. And I love that. I just love that. It's just so unexpected. Like, you're just like, what? And at least for me, a lot of people are like, whoa, and you see him look up at the camera like that, you think he's the killer. Honestly, the first time I seen this movie, I really didn't notice that. Now I kind of like, yeah, maybe I could have noticed that, but the first time I seen it, I'm being honest, I did not notice that he looked up at the camera like that. And plus, there are a lot of characters in the film that were doing that. They were acting suspicious, or they're acting like they were the killer or something like that. Because it was a mystery kind of killer movie. So it wasn't just Roy who did that. It was kind of other people too that got the movie. Because you had to develop a list of suspects for the mystery revealed. And I mean, just have crazy kills. I mean, you got a guy who gets like a freaking belt around his head right here, and Roy just twists it until it pops. There's a girl who gets garden shears in her eyes and clothes and crunch her face in. Crazy death scene. And if you're into nudity, she's pretty good looking, honestly. If you're into nudity and stuff like that in these movies, you're gonna love that scene because she's pretty good looking. I'm being honest with that. She's pretty good looking. But she gets her freaking eyes just freaking poked in and just freaking crunched with that freaking hedge cutter just right here in the eyes. It's freaking crazy. One guy gets his throat slit by the machete. There's a girl in bed, kind of the impalement death scene where Roy's underneath the bed, grabs her, and sticks the machete to the bed. One guy gets his head cut off by a meat cleaver. Another guy gets a freaking meat cleaver to the face, kind of off camera, I guess, a little bit. There's a girl, I think it was like, what was her name? Bethel or Ethel? What was her name? It's Ethel. Not Bethel, Ethel. She's a freaking crazy character in this movie. She's so fun. She's such a fun character. And the freaking meat cleaver goes right through the window and into her face and just gets pulled out of her face, there's blood going everywhere. There's a girl who gets like a freaking axe to the chest, guy an axe to the back of the head. There's so many kills. The guy has like a freaking spike through his head through a tree. This other guy, you see him with his eyes gouged out. Roy falls in the bed of spikes and gets killed. There's so many of them. There's so many death scenes. I think I'm getting close to the ending of it, honestly. You got Joey's death scene where he gets chopped to pieces. And that's another problem, is that Roy killed everybody but the person who killed his son. That, yes, that's a little ridiculous. Honestly, it's freaking hilarious, because, like, he just killed everybody in this camp, went on a murder spree, and then he even killed the guy who killed his son. So, that is a bit, it's ridiculous, but in my opinion, it's funny. It really is funny. I can't hate the movie for that. It's just funny. Yeah, I guess I consider it a problem, but for me, it's more hilarious than anything. It's like, you killed everybody but the person who killed your son. Roy, get your goals straight, man. You're gonna go on a killing spree? You let up the guy who freaking killed your son, man. It did not make sense. I will agree with people on that. It made no sense, but it's freaking hilarious. Because, like, he completely forgot about the guy. It was just freaking funny. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Gwen Violet, she gets picked up on a wall, like, took up on the wall, and a machete right to the chest, which there's, like, an X-rated death scene of that, where it was supposed to go somewhere else, the private area, the machete was. They had to cut that out. Yeah, that's using your imagination a little too much, I guess. Yeah, there's a good reason why they got cut. And I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, Reggie's brother, the guy from Return of the Living Dead. He gets like a freaking spike shoved right through the outhouse, and then through him, and his girlfriend gets her throat slit. A lot of throat slits in this movie. Like, there's a girl who gets her throat slit. Roy's other paramedic guy gets his throat slit, or you don't see it, but they find his body. There's a flare in the mouth. A guy gets a flare in the mouth. I'm just trying to think, man. Gosh dang, there's so many kills. I really don't even think I'm done yet. Oh yeah, a guy gets a freaking hunting knife stabbed right here in the chest. Like, you see what I mean? The kills keep on going and going. I was trying to think if I'm not forgetting any of them. Honestly, I think that's about it. I think I'm just going to call it end of the kill count there. But I'm pretty sure I missed probably at least one more. I'm not sure. But there's a lot of death scenes in this movie, and the gore effects are done very well. It's a very bloody film. Lots of nudity. Has a great third act. Well done acting. Decent acting, at least. Well done direction. The atmosphere is beautiful during the day and creepy at night, just like the previous 4 films. Roy is a cool character, you know, in my opinion, with the mask, the blue chevrons, and the overalls, and the machete has its own look, sort of thing. And I like the idea that it's like a crazed paramedic who goes insane, so like that stuff I got into. It's so underrated. It's such an underrated film. You know, and I guess for part 6, the original idea was to have, I think, Reggie get killed and stuff like that, and I think part 6 was supposed to be a different film, but I think the guy who played Reggie didn't come back for part 6 because of that, and they changed some stuff and made it the part 6 that we did get, which I love part 6. I really do. It's a fun film, but Part 5 is just so underrated, in my opinion. It's a fun movie. To be honest, it's my opinion, people are taking it way too serious. This is a movie that you're meant to sit down, shut your brain off, and have some fun. Yeah, it's serious during some moments, but for the most part, it's a very fun, very, how would I say, campy slasher film. That's just an absolute blast. It's a fast-paced movie, goes by in a flash. Lots of gore, lots of nudity, big body count, cool killer with the cool mask and the awesome look of Roy the killer. Really well done third act. The build-up was decent. I love the movie, and I love the score it has, where Harry Manfredini, I think he did the score. I think he said he wanted it to sound like Like, he wanted to sound like a Friday the 13th film, but he didn't want you to think it was a Jason movie. Like, it was meant to sound like a Friday the 13th film, but it wasn't meant to have a Friday the 13th like actual score from the previous movie. It's a very different sounding score, similar to Jason's score, but not exact. That was the goal, from what I heard, to make it as different as they could. And it's just a very fun film, very entertaining, one of my favorites. I really enjoy it, and it's been fun reviewing it. But anyways, guys, yeah, it's my review for Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. And it's been a fun time reviewing this movie. It was a fun time rewatching it again, and I really love the film. It's my second favorite of the franchise for a reason. It's just extremely fun, extremely campy, extremely gory, extremely lots of nudity. So if you want nudity, you got it in this film. Just a lot going for it. A good, decent acting, really good pace. I just can't get enough of Part 5. I think it's great. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review of Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning. And I'll see you guys in the next review. Explorer 4 out. See you guys.